AdTech and MarTech companies are engaged in a fierce battle for audience attention. Customers are bombarded with thousands of ads and marketing messages every day, and the average attention span is plummeting. So it's no wonder they tune out or turn on ad blockers. But it's not all doom and gloom. The global AdTech market is expected to grow at a rate of 22.4% through 2030, and MarTech's projected growth rate is 18.5% through 2032. Now, this is driven by and creating unprecedented opportunities for the industries, and AI is one of the game-changing technologies making that possible. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever-evolving tech space, and I'm your host, Priya Dayalani. The relationship between AI and AdTech is nothing new. This advanced technology has been helping the digital world to digitize for a very long time. So, how can this long-term trend help this industry achieve new features in the face of stricter privacy rules, rising ad block use, decreasing viewer attention span, and rising frauds like click farming, MFA, websites, etc.? Let's welcome Lakshmana Gnanapragasam, Senior Vice President, Analytics, Epsilon India. Hi Lakshmana, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Priya. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today, Lakshmana. And, like I mentioned about the AdTech and MarTech, and of course, we're going to have a very interesting conversation today, diving deep into how AI is changing the dynamics of MarTech and AdTech. But before that, we would like to first build up a foundation. We would like to know more about Epsilon India. So if you can help us understand about the organization, its specialization, any particular solution the company is offering.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Priya. So I represent Epsilon, as some of you may know, is a global leader in marketing and advertising technology. We are clearly in the marketing and customer engagement space. We are in the business of connecting brands to millions of consumers across the globe. We deliver measurable marketing outcomes to brands globally. And how do we do that? We do that through own data assets, our own tech products, media solutions that we offer, and also a set of professional services we deliver to our clients. Epsilon at the last count is over 9,000 associates globally, and about 3,500 out of those 9,000 associates are based out of Epsilon India office here in Bangalore. Out of 9,000 associates, we estimate we have about 800 plus data scientists. We are a data-rich company when it comes to consumer data and prospect data. We are headquartered in the US with predominantly a North American client base. And we do have offices across Europe, India, and Asia Pacific.
Great. That's a fascinating overview, Lakshmana, and thank you for setting the stage so clearly. What really stands out is, the company's focus on using and leveraging technology to drive marketing strategies of organization, which kind of gives us a solid foundation to explore the themes we have lined up for today's episode. Now, let's dive deeper into your journey and the driving forces behind your work, Lakshmana. I believe you have been a senior management consulting leader with work experience in strategy consulting, analytics, and technology companies with deep expertise in developing customer strategies and delivering on the promise. So, if you could, tell our listeners more about your journey, how has your journey been till date? What is your exact role, and your contributions at Epsilon India, and or probably, what triggered your interest at Epsilon?
Yep, of course. Epsilon is, I think, the best way to understand Epsilon in terms of the way that we are organized is we are organized by business units that are go-to-market P&L focused business units. They are data, technology, media, and services. Those are all business units, as I said. And then there are also functional. It's also organized functionally. So I belong to what we call an analytics functional organization. So we do have a number of data scientists, hundreds of data scientists who are part of the analytics functional organization who work across multiple business units that I've outlined earlier. So we're kind of plugged into various P&Ls and help Epsilon develop products and solutions and deliver services to our clients. In terms of my journey with Epsilon, I've been with Epsilon for over 7 years now. I originally joined Epsilon back in December 2017 to set up strategy consulting and analytics professional services organization here in India. So I built that team from basics to what it is now. Over the course of my journey here at Epsilon, I've played multiple roles. I was leading go-to-market and client engagement from a strategy consulting and analytics point of view for our India and Asia Pacific clients. I was heading up the Analytics Center of Excellence here in India that cuts across multiple business units that we have. And recently, I've been a global delivery leader for all the data science and analytics work that we do for our global clients.
That's really insightful, Lakshmana. Thank you for sharing that, and definitely a very fascinating and inspiring journey that you have been. And it's clear that your contributions are closely tied to both the company's mission and the broader industry trends. Now, building on that perspective, let's explore further. I was just, reading across certain, research and reports, and I came across that 4% of businesses reported that AI provides advertising cost savings and efficiencies, whereas 30% of marketing professionals have allocated over 40% of their marketing budget to campaigns driven by AI. Additionally, with the introduction of GPT 4.0 with multimodal capabilities and natural sounding voice assistants, it promises to transform the ad tech industries by empowering advertisers to create more personalized and engaging ad campaigns. So, if we have these AI models that can analyze images, videos, and speech, advertisers can tailor their ads based on a deeper understanding of consumer behavior, their preferences, which eventually helps them to have a higher user engagement and brand recall. So, to begin with, could you give us a quick overview of how AI, particularly predictive and generative AI, is reshaping the AdTech and MarTech landscape?
Yes. I think to begin with, I think let's just explain what we mean by MarTech and AdTech. I think that would be a useful differentiation for the listeners to understand. MarTech is a set of products or the tools or technologies that we call that are predominantly focused on managing your own first party customer data. Some of the software vendors call it like customer data platforms, um, and things like that, like messaging applications and things like that. So they're predominantly PII data, personally identifiable information. Oftentimes, or frequently, that's gathered with clear consent from your customers. So if you think about a retailer context, a retailer may have a CRM or a loyalty program. So you have to go sign up for the loyalty program either online or in an offline store. So that's a very good example of consented first party data. And what that gives you is helps us identify who that individual customer is. And then over a period of time, we have the ability to track what she is purchasing with us, what kind of products she is purchasing with us, and what kind of channels she is willing to interact with the brand, and what kind of categories she shops. Is she interested in us reaching out to her through an email communication or an SMS or a WhatsApp, things like that, right? So, which I would think is everything that I've said so far is under this MarTech side, which is your first party data and transactions and behavior at a customer level. AdTech sits on the other side of the MarTech, where it is largely a pseudonymous ID, which is predominantly used for paid media activation, paid media planning, activation, and measurement. It is largely used for acquisition marketing, like you may onboard your first party customers, like high potential first party data customers, or into your ad tech side, and then use some kind of a prospecting database that's available in the ad tech side to go find more high valuable customers like what you've got. And since they are not your existing customers, it's a prospecting use case. You may not have a own media channel like an email to reach out to them. So you have to rely on paid media channels, the walled gardens or Epsilon Digital to reach out to them. Given some of the sensitive nature of the data that is available, the people's browsing behavior, contextual browsing data, the location, and things like that, um, we shouldn't really be having any PII data in the ad tech side of things. So we do have solutions like Clean Room. I think when you hear Clean Room platform, people generally use that to refer to an ad tech product. So MarTech sits on one side, which is your own customers' first-party data, consented data, and you use predominantly a MarTech platform for own media activation, email, SMS, push notifications, or website personalization, app personalization. Those are all valid use cases on the MarTech side, whereas ad tech side is predominantly used for prospecting, acquisition through paid media platforms. So that's an important differentiation. So now when it comes to where exactly AI plays, whether it is predictive or generative AI, I think identity, data onboarding, identity resolution is something that we couldn't stress enough, because you may think that these two customers are different, but they may be same. Sometimes, how many email IDs that we have, how many devices that we are on. So you need to ensure that you do have a pretty robust identity solution to kind of dedupe and ensure that you do have a single identity per customer, so that you have a pretty good understanding of their behavior and experience with you. Right. So identity resolution is an important AI use case that we deploy within Epsilon. And then purely from a marketing perspective, there are consumer insights and opportunities, there is experience planning and activation, and then there is measurement and optimization. And we can, like at a high level, consumer insights and opportunities is like, do I know enough about my customers and prospects based on the data that I have on them? Do I have a good idea of, let's say, share a wallet, their demographic information, what channels do they shop, what products do they buy, etc. So all of that insights acts like a foundation to your planning and activation. So when it comes to experience planning and activation, it could be activating your own customers across some of the own media channels that I talked about, going to them with a personalized email communication on the products that they are interested in purchasing with you next week or the next month, and bring them back to your brand. Looking at their purchase behavior, identifying a set of triggers and signals with which we can learn more about them, to go back to them with the more relevant marketing communication. So all of that is coming under experience planning and activation. And then finally, measurement is closed loop measurement. Like, I activated on these 50,000 customers, how many of them ended up purchasing with me within a certain measurement window, and what is the investment that I've made on this campaign, and what is the measurable return on investment on this campaign, right? So all of that is under measurement and optimization. So if you look across, I think we can unpack that as we go through the rest of the podcast. But if you look across, I think all of this is enabled by rich customer data and a host of AI models, whether they are predictive or generative. All of them enable a marketer to deliver these outcomes.
Well, definitely. Thank you for giving such an insightful breakdown, Lakshmana, and initially starting with the differentiation between AdTech and MarTech, and coming back to the point, because I think it's a very fascinating space to dive into, because the conversion of AI, AdTech and MarTech is nothing short of transformative. And like you mentioned, I think AI today is not just helping brands optimize campaign; it's kind of reimagining how they understand and engage with customers. So, let's unpack some of these innovations now and understand where this space is heading. Um, If we go back last year, 2024 was a big year for the mass adoption and integration of AI for marketing professionals. We saw AI become readily available in nearly every aspect of marketing's forefront, be it AI marketing setup for targeted ad campaign creation or recommended variations of creative ad copies, optimizations, and much more. Now, all this can be done by transforming marketing industries with innovative solutions to solve some of the industry's complex challenges. By 2025, AI agents started taking on daily life and industries with cost effective advanced capabilities and offering even personalization. So, these agents started streamlining tasks, integrating smart systems, and offering custom solutions across business, healthcare, and education. So, I want to understand from you, Lakshmana, what are specific marketing challenges that are being solved more efficiently today with the help of AI integration? It is because we have AI today. What are certain specific marketing challenges that marketing professionals are able to tackle head on?
Yep. I think if we could go back to some of the frameworks that I talked about earlier, I think it's useful to stay within that framework for the continuity and understanding sake. So there are three categories that I talked about. As consumer insights and opportunities, and second is planning and activation, and third is measurement. So since we are talking about AI within marketing, I think most marketers would be interested in um, performing duties across these three categories. What we are beginning to see is that with predictive AI is something that many brands, many partners have been doing for a long time. How can we use AI to derive more features on the customer data? So by looking at like a transaction data at a customer level, we can glean more information around who they are, what they buy, what categories do they buy, what channels they interact with us, what is the kind of value they have with us, and then maybe marrying it with some third-party data that can give us maybe a high-level view at a customer level on what other kind of spend that they have within this category of the retailer. You could actually get to something that we would call a good share of wallet or a headroom, right? So those are all, everything that I've said so far is around deriving literally hundreds of features by looking at the customer data that you may have on your CDP or a clean room installation. Then what you would normally do is you would go and do some kind of a segmentation. The segmentation could be a demographic segmentation or a behavior or an opportunity segmentation. As a result of that segmentation, there could be some 7 to 20 different segments that come out of it. Then you would go in and start to profile and say, what is the fundamental difference between customers who are in segment A versus segment B? And then you will start to lay out some kind of a marketing calendar of campaigns. Like if I have to really improve the value of this particular segment, what should my marketing campaign be? Like, what is the campaign objective, and what kind of a conversation that I should be having with these individuals in this segment over a period of time, metronomically, not episodically. Like, so over a period of time, having a consistent messaging delivered to these individuals in this segmentation through the channel of their choice. Right. So all of that is something that you do as part of consumer insights and opportunities and planning and activation. Then when it comes to measurement, I think this is where we normally see there are challenges, especially on the paid media side. And when you activate through some of the walled gardens, you only have visibility into the audiences that you're planning to activate. And you may not know what percentage of those audiences what part of your audience list the walled garden ended up activating, right? So that makes the measurement extremely challenging unless you use a platform like Epsilon Digital that can actually do one-to-one messaging across open web apps and connected media. Right. So I think the challenges are around planning, activation, and measurement. And we can talk about it more like, how we are seeing the marketers increasingly adopting generative AI technologies to go direct to the data, start doing their own planning and activation and measurement without fully reliant on an analyst team, right? So we were increasingly seeing adoption from the marketers in terms of their interest and capability to leverage generative AI technologies to deliver their marketing outcomes.
Definitely. I think that's a really first fascinating perspective shared by you, Lakshmana, and it really highlights how deeply AI is woven into the fabric of modern marketing today. And it is not just a tool for automation, but it is acting more like an intelligent partner, helping brands navigate complexities of today's digital era, scale personalization, and of course, respond in real time to shifting customer expectations. Having said that, I mean, we spoke about generative AI as well, and as generative AI continues to change how we approach content creation, especially in marketing and storytelling. So it's unlocking new levels of speed and scale that were once unimaginable. Now, campaigns that took weeks can now be generated in hours, and AI powered tools are helping teams brainstorm, write, and even design with remarkable efficiency. But with that power comes an important consideration. How do we preserve the originality, emotional depth, and brand consistency that human creatives bring to the table? Now, striking the right balance between automation and human led storytelling is essential to ensure campaigns don't lose their soul in the process. So, that brings to my next question. How do you balance automation and creative control when using generative AI tools in campaign creation or storytelling?
Yeah, I can talk about some of the examples. Some of the examples from our experience here at Epsilon, working with multiple brands globally. I think the way that we approach this is like predictive AI is highly performant when it comes to the effectiveness and efficiency. And what I mean by that is if you have to really identify a set of your customers who are likely to purchase in a certain category or a cohort of SKUs, there are very powerful machine learning and deep learning models that are available that would help you predict that, right, based on longitudinal historical data that you would have in your CDP or a clean room. And it is also efficient in the sense that like you don't need to, I mean, it's once the model is built and then it is continuously recalibrated and it learns, itself learns based on the recent data, then you can continue to score it or inference it for your decisions, whether it is your personalization on your websites or apps or your outbound campaigns through email, SMS, push notifications, etc. Right. So I think predictive AI is extremely performant and great when it comes to delivering a certain level of effectiveness and efficiency of your model. So it's a great automation solution. Where exactly Gen AI scores is in terms of providing accessibility to those insights and decisions. I think this is where the challenge is. So, for example, while some of the AI solutions can be fairly automated, you need to have some control over the output that is coming out of a Gen AI. So, for example, I'll talk about this case of, you do some kind of a customer segmentation exercise, then you do have maybe 8 to 10 segments, then you come up with what you would call maybe a CRM roadmap with a set of campaigns and all of that. Now we do have LLMs. We have trained LLMs to take a look at the data of the client and look at some of the work that we have done in the past to fairly standardize and automate the recommendations. Like, LLMs are very good in looking at what is available in a segment and can effectively summarize what it sees. And also based on what it sees, it can come up with a list of marketing strategies and it can help with sequencing those activities over this calendar year. So something that would have taken like usually like a 2 to 3 months exercise can all be done in a matter of a week. With using LLM, but the challenge is, I think all of these things need to be looked at from the angle of a person in the loop kind of a problem, right? So you need to have, it doesn't really remove the role of a strategist who would end up summarizing the segmentation and coming up with the recommendations. I think the strategist role is extremely clear and it's important. But that strategy is, as opposed to starting from scratch and reviewing the segments and profiles and writing recommendations, they will be using a Gen AI LLM to look at the recommendations that are coming out of it and then tweak it with the context of the client. And what we have seen is that some of the Gen AI technologies can deliver about 70 to 80% content. Then you need to do that remaining last mile, 20% of the content to get it to a shape that is client ready. I think there are also a lot of opportunities. We have seen agencies using the insights coming out of the customer segmentation exercises and profiling and use that insight to feed into some sort of a creative engine that can come up with hundreds of creatives based on the information that's embedded in the segmentation. That's where those things need to be reviewed with the client's brand, within the client's brand guidelines and get approved before they even are put in your websites or your digital campaigns, right? So I think of all of this as like it's an enormous efficiency play, but you need to have a person in the loop reviewing the output and ensure that it is of certain quality and it fits within the brand guidelines before you execute on them.
Definitely. I really appreciate how you have framed the relationship between automation and creativity at Epsilon, not just a trade-off, but more like a partnership. And as more teams integrate these tools, it's not just about who's using AI, it's about how they are using it. So I think that this blend of automation and creative oversight with humans still in the loop will be like a new digital storytelling space that we would definitely uncover more. And let's stay with this theme a little longer because I think where there's a lot of magic, the tension also really lives there. So, shifting our focus to tension, I believe as AI continues to give more power to marketers with these cutting edge marketing tools, there's a growing realization that the entire or what we can call as an engine behind all of this is data, but not just any data, it is quality data. And in a world where consumer trust is fragile and regulations like GDPR and India's DPDP Act are tightening, the way brands collect, store, and use that data has become more critical than ever. And it's not just about volume anymore. I think it's more about ethics, compliance, and ensuring that what fuels your AI models reflect accuracy, diversity, and also consent. So that brings us to a very important point that AI is only as good as the data that it's fed. So how can marketers ensure that they're collecting high quality and privacy compliant data?
Yeah, I think you touched on an important point. I think while a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on building advanced predictive and Gen AI technologies, I think the fuel for all of this is rich rich data that underlines all of these technologies. So I think what I would say is that especially within the context that Epsilon operates, which is the marketing and media customer engagement context, the first party data is often the gold standard. So the data that brands collect from their customers is often the gold standard. And like through a loyalty program or a CRM program, your point of sale and things like that. And often we have seen brands. It's the beauty of this is like it's consented by the customer. So the customer voluntarily provides some basic information in order to help the brand identify them. And a good practice there is like, when you're asking your customer to sign up for a loyalty program, tell them how you intend to use this data, right? So how are they going to benefit from sharing this data with you, right? And then give them an opportunity to review the data that you have on them and make edits or even ask you to delete it if they like. So I think the customer consent and those privacy considerations should be paramount when it comes to treating the first party data. One useful framework that I've used every time I look at the data is you can look at data across like 5 different lenses. The one is like accessibility, second is fungibility, third is dimensionality, fourth is breadth, and fifth is perishability. And I will explain quickly what I mean by that. Accessibility is like, you need to really ask yourself the question on how hard or easy it is to get this data. And especially that first party data that the customers consent to you is gold standard. And your data is your own. Your competitors don't have this kind of data that you have on your customers, and they could never copy this from you. So accessibility is very important. The fungibility is, can this data be replaced by something else? Like if you do have some exclusive data access through some sort of a second party relationship and your competitors don't have that kind of exclusive data access, that becomes your competitive advantage, and that data is not fungible. It can't be replaced by somebody else's. Third is dimensionality. Like, if I procure a data from either my customer or a third party, like how many dimensions are there? Like how many attributes can I learn on my customers through this data? Of course, more relevant dimensions, better. Breadth is like, do I have data that goes back for a certain duration, like, a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. The longer duration data, the longitudinal data that you've got, then your ability to learn and spot the trends in the customer behavior improves, right? So longitudinal data is always better. Then perishability, do I have the fresh data or is it dated, right? So I think customer experiences are all changing. It's very dynamic. There are always new channels through which customers interact. They get rid of an existing channel through which they always interacted in the past. I think if you still go back to them on a channel that they have interacted with you 3 years back, that is not going to work. So you need to constantly, have data that captures some of the recent customer experiences, right? So that accessibility, fungibility, dimensionality, breadth, and perishability are the useful frameworks that I use to assess the quality of the data.
Right, that's such an important area to dig into, Lakshmana. And because in today's landscape, I think data isn't just the fuel for AI, it's also the foundation of trust. And for marketers, that means the stakes are higher than ever. So thank you for sharing those insights. And you really touched upon some critical and crucial aspects of data and, how we are supposed to collect data and store them. Moving ahead, one last question for you is, what are certain trends you think marketers should be watching closely over the next 2, 3 years in terms of AI in AdTech and MarTech?
There are three things, of course, like, I think depending on the person that you ask, this answer may be different, but hopefully you would start to see the commonality in their recommendations. So there are three things that we watch out for from an Epsilon point of view. One is going back to the first few questions that we talked about, MarTech and AdTech. We clearly see the emergence of MarTech and AdTech converging. So on one side, you do have first-party data and PII data, and that is predominantly used for own media activation and targeting of your customers. On the other side, you do have prospecting database, mostly pseudonymous or non-PII, predominantly used for paid media activation. And there is no reason why they wouldn't converge through some kind of a marketing hub, where, of course, you would respect the privacy and, like, you could never mingle a PII data with a non-PII data. That is not allowed. That is not the right thing to do. But having said that, like, is there a marketing hub through which you could actually do planning for both own media and paid media while respecting the regulatory and privacy guidelines, right? So I think that the some of the reasons, I think one of the primary reason why it stayed like that, like a separate tools and platforms, is the buyer persona on the client side is very different. Historically, MarTech platforms are bought by CRM loyalty marketer, the direct marketers within the brand's team. On the AdTech side, like it's usually a digital media budget owner with predominantly a acquisition focus, right? So they do have budgets available to acquire new customers, right? So that's one of the reasons it stayed like that. But we can clearly see these two merging over a period of time, and our platforms can deliver use cases across MarTech and AdTech. through a single marketing hub. The benefit of that approach that I see is some of the CRM marketing best practices can be applied to paid media side as well. CRM marketing, you do customer lifecycle segmentations and customer lifetime value kind of an analysis. There is a lot more rigor that goes into looking at customers over time, right? So in terms of their life cycle with you. So some of that best practices can be brought over to the paid media side. So that you're not really doing these ad hoc campaigns to meet a certain business metric today. You're looking at it like, hey, I've got, let's say, maybe 10 million customers in my database, and they're all online. They're all online. They may be in Meta, they may be in Amazon, or they may be in a newspaper website consuming content. I can find them online and I can message them on a one-to-one basis. So some of that CRM best practices can be applied on the paid media side, and we do that very well. And then some of the planning and forecasting that we do on the paid media side, because paid media is, like it says, it's money. You're paying money to reach either your customers or prospects. So you do very rigorous planning and forecasting even before you deploy a campaign with a certain budget behind it. That kind of planning may not be as rigorous on the MarTech side, and some of that planning and forecasting that we do on the paid media side can be brought back into the MarTech and CRM side, right? So we clearly see the convergence of MarTech and AdTech and Epsilon at the forefront of driving that change. Then point number 2 is personalization. So personalization is a big topic for all the marketers that we interact with, and many brands are at various stages of this evolution. When we look at personalization, we look at it in 2 angles. One is individually addressable channels and individually responsive channels. Individually addressable means like, any channel through which you can individually contact your customers, whether it is email, SMS, WhatsApp, or push notifications. Individually responsive is like, anybody who's reaching out to you, they may be on your website or app or call center or a retail media network, right? How do I identify that individual in real time, recognize them, and look into what kind of data do I have on them and fully personalize their web or app experience, right? So with sufficient data and AI models, you could make that dream come true. That's number 2 on personalization. And the third one is measurement. I think, oftentimes we don't spend enough time talking about the importance of measurement, not only from measuring the performance of, hey, how well this particular campaign has delivered, but also over time, taking a step back and saying, hey, I've done like these 20 campaigns in this quarter, like maybe 100 campaigns in this year. Did it really move the needle when it comes to improving the value of my customers, right? So what is a business value? It's a function of what your customers spend with you. With this sort of CRM or a paid media campaign, did I really improve the customer value? Did I improve their frequency of visit? Are they buying more products from me, etc.? Right. So the measurement is also an extremely important trend that we are watching out for. So in summary, MarTech AdTech convergence, personalization across individually responsive and individually addressable channels, and finally a closed loop measurement and a program measurement to really demonstrate that these marketing dollars or rupees are delivering the results that we expect.
Well, definitely. And thank you for sharing those trends, Lakshmana. And I think these are just few of the ways Gen AI and a robust data strategy can help ad techs and martechs access and mobilize their advertising, media, and entertainment ecosystem of data and solutions. Companies that tackle these challenges and make the most of new opportunities can make their ad and marketing efforts more effective and efficient, and of course, stay ahead of the competition. However, the effective utilization of these innovative AI capabilities capabilities in marketing requires ethical balance and understanding too, while focusing on the systematic integration and management of marketing data. And without proper ethical and technological guidance, I think even the most advanced AI technology won't be able to deliver optimal results. So, thank you so much, Lakshmana, for taking the time and effort to be on a podcast today and helping us understand that the future of AdTech and MarTech isn't just about smarter tools, it's about smarter decisions made with empathy, backed by data, and of course, driven by technology. So, whether you're a brand, a marketer, a technologist, or even a startup innovative in this marketing space, I think this is a moment to lean in because AI isn't just changing the game, it's expanding the field. So, it was lovely chatting with you, Lakshmana. Thank you so much for coming today on our podcast and sharing your insights.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great. Thanks, Lakshmana. This is for our listeners. Thank you for tuning in today's episode, and I hope you enjoyed listening to our episode today. Until next time, keep learning, keep creating things that matter to you. You can view all our podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.